Derbyites, we're talking about guest actress in a comedy series, and I have Charlie, Riley, and Marcus with me. This race is an interesting one because, again, like all the other guest categories this year, we have some really deserving contenders based on their episodes, and then some other contenders where it was a real head-scratcher, meaning what on earth were they thinking? So let's just cut to the chase and go straight to who the person. Three of us have a particular contender up front. We think that she is, based on her episode, going to win this, and that is Gaby Hoffmann from Girls, which is a surprise to me because that was a very left field nomination, came out of nowhere for me, and I think it was probably part of her, the goodwill towards her performance in Transparent, which was also nominated. But Marcus, you had her down in 6th and only bumped her up to 4th because of peer pressure. So before the rest of us talk about how brave and funny and impactful her performance was, I would like you to explain why you were just not buying it at all.
You know, I might be convinced otherwise. If you guys are able to convince me, I might move her up. But I do have her in 4th now. They just don't like Girls. I mean, Girls, it's only won one Emmy, right, for Best Casting, maybe another one here or there, but they don't really like the show. It only has, I think, 2 nominations this year for her and for Adam Driver, maybe a tech nod or something also, but I mean, I don't know who wants to say the naughty words here, but she actually is naked the whole time, and I feel like at times I feel like the camera focuses in and zooms in on certain body parts of hers. And you know, if the voters like that kind of thing, I'm sure that they will give her the trophy. But we should really talk about the performance. I want to know what did you guys see that I didn't see.
Okay, well, I'm not usually one to you know, be all receptive to naked women, but you know, there's a first time for everything.
Wow.
The thing about it is that there is a context for her being naked, is that she is pregnant and she is giving birth, and part of her birth plan is to have a home birth, so she's doing it in the tub and water. So there is a context to it. So I don't think it's necessarily as graphic as you're making it out to be. And you know, it's a very tried you know, comedic storyline, you know, of, you know, being in the pain, a woman being in the pain of childbirth, you know, and just but with her, she's in pain, but she's also being belligerent that she wants a home birth, that she does not want to be taken to the hospital. And the majority of the episode is you know, her friends and her brother, Adam Driver, who plays her brother, trying to convince her to go to the hospital. And I think I actually think she is very. I think her moments are very funny. I think pregnancy storylines have worked though. Have worked. It's
That's
worked.
true.
I believe Murphy Murphy Brown won. Candice Bergen won for Murphy Brown for pregnancy storyline, and so did Jennifer Aniston. So there's definitely plot points there that they would be receptive to.
Riley, what do you think? You've got her up in 1st as well.
I think he's frozen.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell. Look, while we wait for Riley, I agree. I think it's loud. It's very brave. I mean, we can joke about this. Let's be honest. It appears that Gaby Hoffmann must have in some contract of hers that she must be naked in every role that she takes. She's just a very brave actress, and she really lets it all hang out here, quite literally. And and it is a little bit confronting because it's in the context of her being pregnant. She's in a tub, so she's very exposed, and I think a lot of actors voting on this will appreciate that. But not only that, I found her to be quite funny, which is saying something for Girls this season, because I didn't find it very funny, and neither did the voters, because none of the girls were nominated. It was Adam Driver and his sister on the show, and so yeah, I think she's really broken out this year as a contender that people really appreciate, given her 2 nominations, and it's given what else we had to watch in this category, it was the one performance that really stuck out to me as, wow, this is someone really taking a chance and really giving it 110% and really just, yeah, really impressing me. So, and that's from a character that I didn't really like from Girls to begin with, and she happened to change my mind. Riley, what do you think of Gaby Hoffmann? You've got her in first as well.
Yeah, there's one guest performance in this category that really impressed me, and that was John Hamm in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. This is not a strong category, but at least Gaby Hoffmann, she does something. I don't think there's much to this performance. I think she's kind of just screaming, and then she's naked, but at least that's more memorable than the rest of what we saw.
Fair enough. Well,
and she's intransparent, so I think people,
yeah.
like you said, they're latching onto her there. I don't think she's going to win that one, but they can give her a vote here, which is how she got the nomination in the first place, I think.
Well, I think I'm going to move her from 4th to 3rd after this chat of ours.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'm going to predict her higher than that.
Fair enough. Well, let's then talk about who you are predicting, because the rest of us have Christine Baranski towards the top of our lists. I was almost going to predict her as my first choice. It was really between her and Gaby Hoffmann, and I went with Hoffmann. You've got Baranski in first, Marcus. And I remember you writing us an email earlier in the week saying she's got this in the bag after you had watched the episode again. Why? Tell us why Christine Baranski is the favorite.
I'm not even a big fan of The Big Bang Theory, to be honest with you, but it's a very, very memorable role. She's in it a lot for a 22-minute episode. She's in it probably half of the time, and she really goes to bat, like sparring with Laurie Metcalf. They have a great battle. They both should have been nominated, frankly.
Yeah.
And a Chuck Lorre actor or actress wins every single year. It's usually Jim Parsons, but it's also John Cryer has won and Kathy Bates won. So this fits the mold of what the voters really, really go for. She's also a veteran actress. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The problem with that, though, is that it seems like this year was not a good year for Chuck Lorre shows. The Big Bang Theory lost out on comedy series. Parsons is not nominated. Mom still only has the one nomination for Alice and Janney. They're not responding to him the same way.
Mm-hmm. Mark and Molly.
Yeah, but if there's fans still of The Big Bang Theory, which we know that there's a huge fan base for that show. It's been nominated for Best Comedy almost every year except for this year. Those fans will probably want to give her the vote.
I think you're onto something there, Marcus. In fact, I think that's something that I'm going to have to reconsider, because when Kathy Bates won for 2.5 Men, it just was such a good example of how the voters do respond to this type of performance in the guest comedy actress, and even in other categories. Chuck Lorre type humor they like, Conchata Ferrell and all the other supporting actresses from various Chuck Lorre shows, and even
Maya Bialik.
Yeah, exactly. And Melissa McCarthy, post Bridesmaids, was still nominated for that type of humor. They do like it, and at least Baranski has some screen time in this, some good writing behind her, great sparring with Laurie Metcalf. I thought Laurie Metcalf actually outshone her in this episode, but that's because I'm also a really big fan of Laurie Metcalf. But, we love Christine Baranski too. She really needs to bloody well win an Emmy for The Good Wife. If she can't win one for that, then at least maybe give her this one instead. She's been nominated for this role before, so it's all stacking up in her favor. It's just whether it's enough to leapfrog Gaby Hoffmann, I suppose.
And also, she's the only one from a multi-camera audience type of show. The others are all single-camera shows. So, looking at the apple and the barrel of oranges, this is the one different. This is the one performance that's different than all the others.
But I think when we say that, sorry.
Oh no, go on, Ryan.
I think when we say that the voters really like Chuck Lorre performances, I think we're saying that they really like these hammy performances that are chewing the scenery. Christine Baranski I found very restrained in her performance. Kind of her comedic charm in this role, I guess, is that she's so deadpan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the nature of her character.
Yeah, and she tells it how it is, and she's really harsh with her son, and that's really the joke that keeps being milked throughout the whole episode and throughout all the other episodes, and that's where the humor comes from, and she really does pull it off. It's just that I was so drawn to Laurie Metcalf in this episode as well, and I'm amazed that she wasn't even nominated, given she had some goodwill with getting on, and also probably from 20 years ago when she was on Roseanne and kept winning. Like, why isn't she
for that?
Right. So this one's a close one, I think. It's not. I'm not convinced that Gaby Hoffmann will win, but it's just based on the episode alone and on some goodwill towards her. That's the reason why I think she's just in front of Baranski. But
they're both double nominees, so you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
exactly.
true. Yeah.
And
so,
I think that also with I think you know, I just think it's an interesting. I forgot where I was from. Sorry.
Okay, that's because you've just come off a big birthday celebration. So your excuse for that. Let's move on to who else has a shot. Look, before we watched the episodes, I remember thinking that this would be Joan Cusack's turn. I thought finally now, especially with the popular vote, if we don't even look at the episodes, Joan Cusack's been nominated I think every single time she's been eligible. Drama, comedy, variety, reality, she's nominated, right? So for this role, they just love Sheila in Shameless. Unfortunately, they don't love her enough to give her a trophy, and I thought this year would be the one. Then I watched the episode, and it just left me cold. I don't know, that's just my reaction. It left me cold.
She has some good moments in it. She has some good moments to it, but it's
what, with the
just
dildos? Is it the dildos? Right?
Yeah, no. It's when she sees that she's used her when she's used that the girl has used her sex toys, that reaction and that classic Joan Cusack voice.
Yeah,
When she goes, my sex toys.
Yeah, it's good.
I was dying. It was great. But it really felt, and it felt like, you know, normally with an arc on a guest for a guest episode, you'd like to have some sort of, even though it might be a continuous story, a bit of finality to it, and there wasn't that in this episode.
Yeah, that's probably why it left me cold. So, but yeah, so she had some funny moments, and it's brave. I mean, she's there mucking around with dildos in her hand. So we thought Gaby Hoffmann was brave for being naked in a tub. Why not have the same reaction for Joan Cusack? I can't really explain that. So I'm just looking. Riley, you've got her in second. So let's go to you. What you think that she has a shot here?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just the popular vote, as you said, then I think she does have the advantage because Gaby Hoffmann, Pamela Adlon, Christine Baranski, Elizabeth Banks, they've all been snubbed for these roles before, and all of them except Hoffman actually have been snubbed multiple times. So I think they're getting in because of, you know, the new guest roles, as we've discussed, which means that in a straight popular vote, they're not doing as well as Joan Cusack. So that's
interesting.
why I've got her up there.
Very interesting. And I also wanted to bring up the couch scene where she cleans the couch after someone has had sex on it. That I think that was my favorite scene of hers.
Well, yeah, it's that combined with and the other point I was going to make earlier, and I think this also works to Cusack's favor, and that's why I still think she does have a shot, even though I have her in fourth, is that this category does love veterans. I mean, you go back and you look at the past several years of this. You know, Kathy Bates, Melissa Leo, all sorts of people who are, you know, these great veterans. You know, Betty White,
Elaine Stritch.
Elaine Stritch, yes. They've all prevailed in in this category. So that does favor Cusack and Christine Baranski.
Right. So another reason not to have Gaby Hoffmann so high.
That's a possibility. But then, not in Cusack's favor is, I'm pretty sure it was last year, her submitted episode was where she's getting married in the hospital because Frank's in the hospital again because he was always at death's door, that guy. And the whole wedding scene with her dress I thought that would have been the winner for her. That gave her a really nice arc throughout the whole episode to tie it up in a nice bow. It was funny, it was heartwarming, and she couldn't even win for that. And that's why I just think...
Wait, a couple of things. The Orange is the New Black people had 3 episodes.
Good point.
So that definitely helps. But, you know, if the wedding episode was this year, she would probably win. Do you agree?
Yes.
Interesting.
I think so.
I
think it's just the episode could have been better to really just cement her place as the overdue beloved veteran actress who deserves a trophy. that would have been the story about Joan Cusack. So that being said, there's a few other people in this category who I think deserve a trophy. Let's talk about who else I've got. I've got Pamela Adlon in fourth, and I'm not sure about her because I love that character and I love her in the show, but was there enough there? I'm not sure. Who has her up the highest? I think we all have it down the bottom, I think, except for Charlie. You have her in third, so why don't we go to you?
I don't know. I think it's just it's such a. I remember watching the episode and thinking to myself, you know, even for Louis, this is a bizarre episode, because I mean, Louis is not your traditional comedy. It's not your traditional television program, but you know, I really think there was something to her performance, especially. I think that could very well stand out as well. You know, when she's role playing with Louis, and she's also, you know, applying the makeup and everything, and then forcing him to have that really honest conversation with him after they've had sex. I think it's a very striking performance, and I can't help but think they might respond to that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I have her in fourth. I love when she's begging him to put the makeup on him, like to make him up as a woman. And, you know, when she's saying things like balls drained, raisins, I mean, I was just laughing out loud so hard to that, and she just delivers it perfectly. She and Louis have been working together for a very long time, and she understands Louis C.K., I think, very well, and she can just deliver his beautiful writing so perfectly, and that's why she's been finally nominated after all these years. It's an overdue nomination, and this new guest categories rule helped her because a lot of the other women who weren't available in this category to be as a contender have helped her move forward. But there's just, I don't know, there's not enough in here, I think, for her to be a front runner. If she wins, it'll be on goodwill and on the delivery of those couple of scenes in particular.
Should also be noted she is a previous Emmy winner for the voice acting, because she was the voice of Bobby on King of the Hill.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I don't think she's outside the realm of possibility, but I mean, like there have been 4 episodes in past seasons of Louis that have had her name in the title. I think this is kind of a weird year for her to get in. I don't know if she has that much support.
Yeah. And this episode, Bobby's House, it was also nominated for writing, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the one Louis C.K. also submitted as well.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's obviously the favorite episode of him. Let's move on then to the 2 other women, one of them being an Emmy legend and the other one being a really respected actress who's been nominated for this role before, both of whom... Oh, sorry, my mistake. I thought she was. I don't understand what she's doing here, though. I'm just going to go straight to Elizabeth Banks in Modern Family. That show has really taken a downturn this year. It managed to sneak in here for a performance where she's in 2 scenes, I think, and I don't really see anything to judge. And I really, really respect and admire Elizabeth Banks and this character, but I just don't get it. It's one of those, nominations, and we all have her in last, except for Charlie, you have her in second last. Does anybody see any possibility for an Elizabeth Banks win?
Yeah, I mean, people were really harsh on her in the forums. They said, like, what is she doing here? Pretty much what you just said. But she does cry at the end, so I thought that was a pleasant surprise. So she exceeded my expectations for what I had heard about this performance.
It's funny, she's hardly in it. It was the fight or flight episode, but when she's not on screen, they're talking about her character. I mean, at least Eric Stonestreet and Jesse Taylor Ferguson are. So you feel her presence, you know, because she's left her baby at their house. So even when she's not on screen, it still feels like she is, which is really kind of a weird thing.
At the same time, I do think she has that scene at the end where she starts, you know, where she's crying because she's unsure of whether or not she's questioning whether or not she's capable of raising this baby properly. And even though they are talking about her, none of the comedy comes from her. It comes from either, you know, Eric Stonestreet, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, or Nathan Lane, who ends up stealing a lot of the scenes.
Yeah. He's very, very funny in this episode. I'm amazed he wasn't nominated.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and he's been nominated in the past for episodes that weren't as good as this one. So go figure. I mean, if we try to understand the Emmy voters, really, you need a special degree for that. Let's move on to Tina Fey, someone that I'm sure all of us absolutely love and admire. She's been around now for quite a few years on 30 Rock. She's such a respected actress and producer and writer. And Kimmy Schmidt, I loved, and I was such a surprise. What a welcome surprise that show was. Yet I don't understand this episode submission of hers. And I think John Hamm and her submission should be swapped. I think there's been an error, and I bet there should be an audit, and someone should look up and work out who stuffed up and submitted the wrong episodes, because this should have been John Hamm's, and John Hamm should have been hers. Well, it would have been better for her.
Yeah, was that you that emailed that last night? And when you emailed that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, John Hamm, we've already discussed like that category, but he, in his episode that he submitted, he's not in it a lot, but he's in this one, you know, from beginning to end almost. And Tina Fey's hardly in this one. There must have been a mistake that was made.
See, here's the crazy thing. So, for our viewers that don't know the rankings that we have right now, I have Faye in last, and Marcus, you have her in third.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you know what you should do? You should ask Gold Derby why they have her in first. She was in first place at Gold
Name
Derby.
recognition, blah, blah, blah. I'm asking you.
Because she's so beloved in the industry. She's won many, many times. I don't even know how many times she's won. This category, she won in 2009 for playing Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
Yeah, an iconic role that's still talked about to this day.
Well, I think people still talk about Marsha well.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty damn good. The wig and the mannerisms, she's got it down pat, and it is so funny. Just having her in the background when Ellie Kemper and John Hamm are doing their thing in the foreground of the episode, I was just watching Tina Fey because she's so good as this character, as this parody that this parody of this woman from so many years ago that we still know. We know what she's doing.
Yeah, Marcus and Riley, you may not know this, and some of our viewers may not know who she's parodying. She is parodying a woman named Marcia Clark, who was the lead prosecutor for the O.J. Simpson trial. Yeah,
and she really nails it. And her repartee with her co-lawyer, I don't remember the name, is great.
Played by Jerry Minor. And here's the thing, though. Even if you know the reference, and you can have incompetent lawyer storylines that work. Lord knows it worked for Henry Winkler as Barry Zuckercorn on Arrested Development. But this one is just so one note, and it just wears on me so quickly. I even talked with my mom, and she loves the show, and even she was like, "Oh God," she found it funny for like 1 minute, and then it just was so grating after that. It was just milking the same gag over and over again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the character is not a bad addition to the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt universe, but I was a little surprised that Tina Fey would want, her character to be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, did Tina, do you guys know, did she write this episode? Maybe that's why she's so fond of it.
Possibility.
I'm not sure, but I'm not crazy for having her in third. I actually have her in fourth now because I moved up Gaby Hoffmann. But
ooh.
It keeps changing. It's fluid. Well, the bottom line here is this is not the greatest category, and yet it's probably one of the better guest ones of the year. That's saying something for the others. Because on the male side, which we talked about last week, which some of you may have already seen when they're posted, some of those are just as head-scratching as this. So I think the Academy has a bit of work to do to really work out and decide what is it that we are honouring in these categories. What is the point if we're going to nominate someone who is in it for 3 minutes, or someone who has an arc? Does it matter that they're only in half of the season? Does that really matter? I think there's got to be a better way to define it, and we're seeing that now.
Amount of screen time in the episode for each person on the ballot.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I love that idea. But
Yeah, that would be great. You know, at least there was no Margaret Cho this year. I think she was in 30 seconds of her
I don't care.
episode.
I will always defend the Margaret Cho nomination.
no, that was the worst thing I've ever seen.
In all fairness, I will have my gay card revoked if I don't. But I do honestly believe she deserved it. So, you know, I'm not turning that over.
Okay, that's fine. But that was just as bad as the Ellen Burstyn fiasco, which we all still remember so fondly. Okay, well, it looks like we have no freaking idea what's going to happen in this category, but it's a possibility that it's probably a three-way race, or Pamela Adlon could surprise, or Tina Fey could win on name recognition, or they could just turn to Modern Family and give it to that show. Who knows? Bottom line is, everybody, you need to be predicting at Gold Derby. Watch the episodes if you want. Otherwise, just watch this and follow whatever we say. We'll be back again with more categories to analyze in great detail, which we love to do. And in the meantime, see you later.